I wrote them, but now I see those words and I hear those words and I say those words and I live those words. I was reminded just the other day of the story of an eagle who lost his egg. And his fate would turn out there was a hen that found that egg, that took that egg and sat on that egg as if it were her very own egg. That hen sat on that eagle's egg until it hatched. And out popped an eagle. But this eagle was born into a chicken environment. So he thought he was a chicken. He lived like a chicken. He thought like a chicken. He felt like a chicken. He was a chicken in his mind. His biggest aspiration was to jump up on the fence pole and cock-a-doodle-doo with the morning sun. Until one day, this eagle was out playing in the yard. And what he saw would later change his life. He saw a great big old shadow come across the ground. And on this particular day, this eagle, who was born into a chicken environment, began to look up higher than he had ever looked up before, had dreamed bigger than he ever dreamed before. And as he saw what he saw that day, he was impressed. It was an adult eagle flying with all its splendor. And as that eagle, baby eagle who was born into the chicken environment, began to look at that adult eagle, he began to say to himself, wow, I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that. But this adult eagle that was flying in the air began to swoop down, and he saw this eagle who thought he was a chicken in this dilemma, and swooped down to shed some wisdom, to shed some light. He looked at that baby eagle who thought he was a chicken, and he looked him in the eyes and he said, boy, you ain't no chicken. You're an eagle. You were born to do great things. You were created for greatness. It's already in you. You only have to realize it. And on that day, that baby eagle, who was in that chicken environment, who believed he was a chicken, discovered greatness. Discovered he was an eagle. He was an eagle. See, that's what happens to us a lot of times in life. We associate ourselves with people who have less than greatness in them. And we find ourselves being less than great ourselves. But I'm here to remind you, if you feel today like perhaps you are a chicken, I'm here to remind you, I'm here to reinforce the fact, no, you're no chicken. You're an eagle. And see, I had to find out the hard way because I believed at one point, I believed that I was that chicken. Because that was the environment that I associated in. That was the environment that I lived in. One day, shortly after high school, when I graduated into a world that I wasn't prepared for. Wasn't prepared. In less than 2 years after high school, I found myself homeless, living in the back seat of a car. I thought my life was over. I didn't have any goals, any aspirations, any feeling of being better than I was. Because at that time I accepted being a chicken. sleeping in the back seat of a car. I remember going to bed late, waking up early, so no one would see me sleeping in that car. I became a chicken. I became a chicken. Homelessness led me to Hinesville, Georgia, where I met up with one of my cousins. And just like that adult eagle, she sat me down. She asked me, what are you going to do with your life? She reminded me that I had greatness in me, that I could do great things if I only put my mind to it. She asked me what did I want to do with my life, and I didn't have an answer. I had talked to a couple of recruiters. One of them was a Marine Corps recruiter. And I told her, I said, the Marine Corps recruiter said he can get me out of here pretty early. Thinking about maybe joining the Marines. She looked at me again. She said, no, don't think about it. That's what you need to do. The Marines will give you some kind of structure, some kind of discipline. And that's what you need for your life. Structure and discipline. Well, I did that. I joined the Marines. Went to Parris Island, South Carolina. Boot camp. But I was the same old me. In the back of my mind, I began to think about chicken thoughts. I used to relive those chicken dreams. And that day when I arrived at Parris Island, when I stood on those yellow footprints, I could feel the change begin to take place. We had to do what's called an initial strength test. We had to run 1.5 miles. We had to do pull-ups. We had to do sit-ups. But when it came to those sit-ups, it was no problem. When it came to those pull-ups, it was no problem. But when it came to that run, in the back of my mind, I began to think doubt. I began to think defeat. Anybody ever heard, as a man thinketh, so shall he be? Whatever you think about most of the time, that's what you'll become. Whatever you think about most of the time, that's what you'll become. Only way to change what you are, who you become, is to first change your thoughts. Nothing else can change until you first begin to change your thoughts. That pain from that run was so agonizing, it made me quit. I quit. That night when I laid down in my rack, I began to think about what I wanted to do with my life. I couldn't go back. There was nothing for me to go back to. I burned all of my bridges behind me. There was nothing left for me to do but move forward. There was nothing left for me but my future. So I had to decide, I had to make a choice what I wanted my future to be. Did I want my future to be filled with chicken dreams and chicken imagination? Just plain old chicken. Or did I want to be like that eagle? Great in every aspect of the word. Excellent. Excellence comes to mind when I think about eagle. And in my mind, that's what I knew I had to be. I had to become excellent. My drill instructor told me something that gave me the confidence to finish 3 months of the hardest months of my life in boot camp. He said, Casey, pain is only weakness leaving the body. Pain is only weakness leaving the body. I had to put that in my mind. I had to reprogram my mind because in my mind was wrapped around chicken. But I had to change my thinking, change the way I thought. See, that's how you change anything. We're all responsible for one thing. attitude. It doesn't matter who you are. You are accountable, responsible for your attitude. Everything's going to happen to people in life. One of the Four Noble Truths said life is suffering. That just means that at one point in life, we're all going to go through some kind of pain. We're all going to go through some kind of punishment, something that's going to hurt us, sometime physically, sometime mentally, sometime both. But we're all going to go through our own suffering. And we have to make up in our mind how we'll deal with that suffering. Will we deal with it in a cowardly way? Like that chicken. Or will we deal with it like an eagle, in excellence, take our strides? Does anybody know where eagles rest? Yes, sir.
Mountains.
Close. Anybody else? Where do eagles rest?
Trees top. High.
Yes, sir.
High places.
High places. Let me tell you what eagles rest. Eagles get their rest in mid-air, in mid-flight, between strokes. That's where eagles get their rest. So if you have to take a rest, take it in between flight. Don't quit. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on your aspirations. Continue to make goals for yourself. How many people would ever run a race that had no finish line? Nobody. Nobody would run a race without a finish line. Goals help us have a finish line. You have to set goals in your life. It's very important to set goals in your life. Who do you want to be? What do you want to accomplish? Set goals. And when you begin to set goals and accomplish goals, you set another one. And you set another goal. And you set another goal. And before you know it, you'll look back and you'll see the growth that you've had. You'll realize that, no, you were never a chicken, but you were always an eagle. And when you go out into the world, I hope most of you will be prepared, but when you go out into the world and the world tries to make you believe that you're a chicken,